Hi everybody, today I'm going to be teaching you about if functions in Google Sheets and how to use them for different purposes. So let's get into the video. So today we're going to go over what an if function is, how to code it into Google Sheets, and some different usages of if functions, as well as a special kind of if function called a nested if function, which we'll get into later. So what is an if function? It's a formula in spreadsheet software that tests if given conditions are true and gives one result if the condition is true and another if it is false. So here we are in Google Sheets, and we're going to be typing out an if function. So we have if, and then any given condition. Then what will happen if the condition is true will go in the second slot, and then in the third slot will be what will happen if the condition is false. And then I tried to enter it, but obviously an error code comes up because there are no actual values, but that is the syntax of an if function. So now that we know how to express if functions, we're going to be going over in this video how to check for passing and failing grades for students, budget checks, and attendance standing in school, which is going to be when we get into our nested if functions. So let's get into these examples. So for this example, we have a list of students and their score in a class. And so for this if function, it's going to be if the cell with the score is greater than or equal to 70, then that means that they pass. And we put pass in quotation marks so that the computer knows to write the word pass. And then if they do not have a score greater than or equal to 70, they fail. Then we close the parentheses and press enter. And then when we press enter, it comes up with the autofill button, which will fill the rest of the remaining cells with the respective cell addresses with the same if function. And that will show us if a student in this list has passed or failed their class. For this next example, we have a list of departments in a business as well as the amount that they have spent in a month. And we also have our company's monthly budget per department on the right. And so for this if function, it's going to be if the cell address with the amount spent is greater than or equal to $750, then that means that they have gone over budget, which we can see as we're putting in the quotation mark, again. And then if they haven't gone over that number, then it's okay. And then we have our autofill button that comes up again. And this shows us that each department has either gone over or is in budget. For our next and final example about attendance standing, this is where we're going to be getting into nested if functions, which I'm going to explain here in a second. Nested if functions are a specific kind of if function that tests for multiple conditions instead of just one, and so it has a longer syntax as shown here. So here we have a list of students, how many absences they have, and the attendance standing guide. So for this if function, we're going to say if, then we have the cell reference with the number of absences. If that is equal to 0, then the student is going to have perfect attendance, which is going to go in quotation marks so that the computer knows to say perfect instead of anything else. And then we have the nested part of our if function, which is another if. And then we have if the cell reference with the attendance standing, once again, is going to be less than or equal to 4, then that means that they are in a good attendance standing. And then once again, in quotation marks, and then we're going to have, if anything other than that, it's going to be poor attendance standing. And then when we close it off, we have to do two parentheses because we have two if functions. Then we have our autofill button once again, and this shows all of our students and if they're good standing. So let's go over what we learned today. We learned what both nested if functions and regular if functions are, and then how to use these if functions for different circumstances. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you were able to learn something new or helpful about Excel and if functions. Thank you.